The federal government, they have proposed a prisoner swap for Brittney Griner. She's been held now for 160 days in Russia after being caught with cannabis in her luggage. And so what is being proposed right now, folks, is actually a prisoner swap. And the prisoner swap was an arms dealer who is being held in the United States. Actually, there are a couple of people who are being held there. First of all, in Russia, and so they have been negotiating for quite some time. Now, remember, Brittney Griner, she pled guilty to the charges of bringing the items in. She has testified saying she was not aware of what was actually going on. Here's Secretary of State Antony Blinken talking about this negotiation.
In the coming days, I expect to speak with Russian Foreign Minister Lavrov for the first time since the war began. I plan to raise an issue that's a top priority for us: the release of Americans Paul Whelan and Brittney Griner, who've been wrongfully detained and must be allowed to come home. We put a substantial proposal on the table weeks ago to facilitate their release. Our governments have communicated repeatedly and directly on that proposal. And I'll use the conversation to follow up personally and, I hope, move us toward a resolution.
As I said, Griner testified earlier today at her possession trial, and she said that an interpreter translated only a fraction of what she said during questioning when she was detained at Moscow's airport in February. She said officials told her to sign documents without explaining what they were. She also said no one explained her rights nor gave her access to a lawyer. Again, as I said, she has pled guilty to those charges, and people and folks have said that hopefully they believe that is going to pave the way for her to be released. My panel today, Robert Patillo, Executive Director of the Rainbow Push Coalition, Peachtree Street Project, Monique Presley, legal analyst and host of Make It Make Sense with Monique Presley, Dr. Jason Nichols, Senior Lecturer, African American Studies Department, University of Maryland, College Park. Monique, there have been a number of people, a number of black women and others who have been making the point that more pressure needs to be applied to get Brittney Griner released. This proposed prisoner swap was what many people said was we were eventually going to get to. And so if this is successful, Brittney Griner may very well be on her way home soon. Monique, you're muted. You're muted.
I was saying it did take time for them to get that together. I wish that it had happened sooner, and I pray that it is successful. These things obviously come at a cost, and Russia was not going to be willing to just release her and get nothing in exchange. So I pray that it works.
Robert Patillo, again, this is look, this is major here because, again, she's being held. We know exactly what's going on. You've got Putin and Ukraine war that's going on, and frankly, she's a prisoner of war. He's using her as a chess piece against the United States.
Well, I had the honor of being on Russian television earlier today, along with Reverend Jesse Jackson, to discuss the release of Ms. Griner, particularly on humanitarian grounds. We cannot ignore the fact that this sets a dangerous precedence going forward, offering a prison swap in exchange for a U.S. celebrity. What would stop the Iranian government from kidnapping Rihanna, or what would stop the Chinese from detaining LeBron James in the future in order to get many of their prisoners held here in the United States to be released? Particularly this individual, Victor Bout, who is an arms dealer for the FARC, the Colombian terrorist organization that has resulted in the deaths and displacements of tens of thousands of people in Central and South America. We have to make sure we're very judicious in how we approach this situation. At the end of the day, we do want Ms. Griner and all the other Americans being unjustly held there in Russia to be released, but we also need to make sure that America is doing their part and upholding human rights through standards standards that they claim that they want to enforce against other nations. I think a big part of this also has to be up until about 5 years ago, Brittney Griner would have gone to jail in America for doing the same thing. And we are not going to address cannabis decriminalization here in the United States of America. It's difficult for us to say that Brittney Griner is being held against her human rights for having marijuana when there are people in the United States in prison right now for the exact same substance that we don't want to give the same justice to. So we have to make sure that we are doing this in a judicious way and following all international human rights norms, but we have to also use this opportunity to focus on creating the change we need here at home.
Jason, your thoughts?
Well, first of all, I don't know anybody who's been held that long for 0.7 grams of marijuana here in the United States. They've been held, there are people who are incarcerated for something that lots of people make lots of money on in some states like Colorado, where you can be a weed millionaire while others are held behind bars, primarily black and brown. But what she did was incredibly minor, and this is 100% a political move, and she is a political prisoner in Russia. I do think that this, as Robert is kind of stating here, I think that this swap is imbalanced. Paul Whelan, if you know, he basically was set up by the Russian government. I 100% believe that he is not guilty of espionage and all the things that they are saying that he committed, and he's been in prison unjustly for a very long time. And now you have Brittney Griner, who is a political prisoner and a ploy, by the Russian government. And I think the United States is in a jam because we need to get our citizens home, particularly ones who have not committed crimes or committed very minor crimes, and they can't be held that way. That said, this is imbalanced because you have a person who is an international terrorist who's probably going to be released after 10 years when he was supposed to serve 25, for somebody who is accused of having 0.7 grams of hash oil. That's not a balanced trade.
First of all, again, the trade hasn't happened. We'll see exactly what happens when it comes to that decision, and hopefully it can get resolved soon.
All right, folks, back to our Roland Unfiltered video in just one moment. Folks, Black Star Network is here.
Oh, no punches! I'm real revolutionary right now.
Support this man, Black Media. He makes sure that our stories are told.
Thank you for being the voice of Black America, Roland.
Stay black. I love y'all.
All momentum we have now, we have to keep this going.
The video looks phenomenal.
See, this difference between Black Star Network and black-owned media and something like CNN.
You can't be black-owned media and be scared.
It's time to be smart.
Bring your eyeballs home.
You dig?